G'day. Before we get stuck into this great interview, if you all could hit the like and subscribe button, that would be bloody awesome, and it mean you all keep up to date with all the great interviews brought to you by myself, crank.com, and thatmetalstation.com, the only station with more metal than your Mars kettle. Cheers, guys.
Hey, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with crank.com and that metal station. And today I'm getting to have a chat with Gaia Guarda, whose latest single, I Didn't Break, was with Lindsay Schoolcraft for the C Squared music album, man, which is really cool. The compilation, I think it's the first one for C Squared as well, which is really exciting. And then you had the Anatomy of Fear album, which was an absolute belter of an album. I really love the hell out of that album back in 2019. It still gets a fair bit of airplay for me. So thank you for making some time to have a chat with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. I'm glad you like the album. Like I'm always surprised when people say you like it. I was just like, really?
Yeah. It was a really, really cool album. And I really want to dive into that album first before we talk about the other stuff you got working on. Can you tell me a little bit about the process of making that album?
It was made with love and a lot of frustration, to be honest. It took me 6 years to finally be able to release it, because like I was with a label when I started working on the album, and like they kind of like played around a lot, and I ended up like breaking the contract that I had with them, and finally it took me like a year after I broke the contract to be able to release it. But so it took me a long time, and I'm glad it took the time that I took, because like I love the result that I got. I had the chance to work with Rocky Gray he's the old drummer of Evanescence, and he was like one of my idols too, and like he worked on the album too. And so I feel like in the end I was very lucky with the time it took, because it was more ready when it came out.
Yeah, so you've got an amazing voice. People that haven't heard of you really need to go over and check your work out. How did you originally first get into singing and vocal work?
I did a lot of classical music when I was younger. My dad is a classical musician, but he plays guitar. So I really love singing. It was really something that I started doing when I was like 3-4 years old. And my dad was like, we need to do something about that kid. Like she sings all the time, so we need to put her like through classes. And so I ended up like going to university for classical singing, because I wanted to be like this big opera singer. And then I went to school and I realized I didn't like opera that much. So I ended up like not singing classical music anymore. Like I prefer having like the kind of rawness that you have like more in like metal or like pop or like anything else than classical.
Yep. Yeah. So how did that evolve into where you are today? Tell us a little bit about your journey from there to here.
Yeah. So I have like one degree in classical singing, and then I went to university to get like a longer degree.
Yep.
I didn't like it. I took like a year off where I was like wondering what I wanted to do with my career, what I wanted to do with music. And then I went back to university to study electronic music, because I was like, I kind of really like that genre, and it always appealed to me. Like I would drive my dad nuts with like electronic music at home. He was like, this is not music. This is not real music. You're supposed to listen to classical music. I'm like, no. So I went back to school. I studied for a year. I did electronic music. I learned like the basic stuff. And then like I took all the knowledge that I got there and I put that on my own music. I'm still learning a lot. Like I'm not a pro when it comes to like electronic music, but it was really like the music that really, I don't know, that drove me. Like I was very attracted to electronic music, and I love metal too. Like that was like the two genres that were for me like the more real, I guess. So I ended up like I joined a band. Like I'm in a band. I've been with them for 8 years, where we do like more like metal, like avant-garde kind of metal. And I have my own solo project that I launched last year as a full like solo artist, because it took me a long time like to, I don't know how to say it, but like it took me a long time to decide that I really wanted to be a solo artist, because I felt like it was kind of like easier to hide behind a band. But at the same time, like I don't know if you've been in a band, but like when you're like in a band, it takes a lot of your energy, because you're always like having other people input. And like when my band, we were 6 people, so it's a lot of input. And like being a solo artist, I was able to just do whatever the fuck I wanted to do. And that was for me like so freeing, and like it was like pure freedom.
Yeah, it would have been a real cathartic experience, because when you're in a band, you have this real give and take process with the creativity everyone puts in, and you do have to give a little bit and take a little bit from other people's creative vision as well. So it's, you know, that give and take. But when you're doing a solo project, it's really from yourself. It's 100% yourself, and it would have been a real cathartic experience doing that album.
Yeah, and the thing when you're doing a solo album, you can decide who you want to put your trust in. So you can have like, well, I put my trust on another drummer, and like I've never worked with him before, but I was like, okay, I'm giving you this, and like I trust that you're gonna do something amazing with it. But in a band, there's trust for sure, but at the same time, like there's a limitation. Like this is the people that you're working with. When you have a solo project, you can work with whoever you want to work with because it's your own project. And like I can go and like have a jazz, I don't know, like saxophonist playing on my album. It doesn't matter because it's like I choose it.
Yeah, well, speaking of saxophone, you had Lindsay with you on this track. That Her Knox album that had saxophone through it there with Jorgen Munkby. That was a really killer album, and he's from Canada as well. And sax and metal just goes unreal.
It's funny you say that. I have his album just right here.
There we go. He was a really cool guy to chat with as well.
Yeah, he's amazing, and like his music is super good. And like I've known him for a long time before like he released the album, and it's so good. And like when I heard the song with the sax, I was like, this is amazing. Why don't we have like more sax and metal? Like this is so cool.
Yeah, I played a track of his the other week on my show, and then a couple of the listeners were like, sax and metal, that goes so well. And I'm like, yeah, damn right, it goes really well. And then he had Lindsay Schoolcraft over there with him, and you've just done that single with her as well. And that was for the C² Underground Music Special. Can you tell me a little bit about that I Didn't Break single and the partnership with you and Lindsay, how this all kind of happened?
Okay, so we did the single last year when I was doing the crowdfunding.
I seen the teaser for that.
Years ago.
I did see the teaser for that then.
Yeah, you did. So we worked on that song when I was doing the crowdfunding for my album, and so she helped me a lot with the crowdfunding. She's amazing. She's a really, really good friend of mine, and so I was working on the crowdfunding, and like I wanted to have like something special to give to the people that were like helping me making this album. And I had this song that I had like half of it made, but didn't make it to the album because I felt like it just didn't fit. And I sent it to her, and I had issue with the vocals because I'm good when it comes to writing the instrument and like the melody, but when it comes to vocal, it's very hard for me. Like it doesn't come naturally. Like I really need to be in a specific mood, and like it's hard to get there. So I sent it to her, and I was like, oh, when you want to do a collab, we can do that. And she, like, I didn't hear from her for like a week or two about the song, and then she sent me like the entire thing made. I was like, wow, what? She's such a fast working person, like it's insane. And it was so good. And so we really wanted to make this happen, so we decided to do it for the crowdfunding. So I think we were like halfway to the campaign, and so I was like trying like to finish the song, and it was crazy. Like I didn't have access to studio because it was like the beginning of the lockdown, and I couldn't go anywhere. And so our producer Tyler from Monolithic Production, he helped me, kind of like gave me a lot of idea how I could set up my booth where I could like record the vocal. And I ended up like doing it like in my bathtub. I had like my blanket on top of the bathtub, and like with the microphone with duct tape like on the microphone stand I had that was broken, and that was taped to the shower head. And then like I didn't have a
MacGyver.
It was insane. And we call it the ghetto shit. It was like the worst setup. And like I had my little console that was plugged on my mic was plugged on my console, and that was like on the toilet. It was the craziest setup, and somehow it turned out amazing. And like, the vocals were actually really good, like well recorded. I was like so impressed. I'm like, okay, this is going to be my setup for every single demo that I'm doing at home now.
Do you think it helped the creative process being able to learn how to do this from home, you know, with the years that we've had, 20 and now 2021?
Well, I feel like a lot of artists had to adapt, and like I'm part of them too. Like I adapted as hell.
Yeah.
But it really helped. And like now, well, I actually bought a little boot. So now next time it's going to be a little bit easier for me to use that instead of like having all my MacGyver set up.
Into the bathroom and shut down the bathroom for half the day.
Exactly.
That's really cool. And with this C Squared Underground Music Special, because you're in a unique position and you must have been really, really busy, not only with your musical projects as well, but with what you're doing now with C Squared and the PR side of things. It must give you another perspective as well, not only being an artist, but working the PR side of things as well.
Yeah, it's been fun working with them. They're amazing people, and like I've been learning a lot with them, and it's so cool to see like the other side of being like when you have like so when you're a musician, you do all the music, all the work, all the production, and all of that, and like it's really cool when you have like your final project, and but then like you give it to someone else and like they do the work with the promotion and stuff, and like I didn't have like that part before. Yeah. I did what I could do by myself, but now working with them, it's amazing because I get the excitement of having a new album, even if I didn't have to put the work on. I get someone else's music, but I promote it as being my own almost, like because you get so attached to the music and so attached to the artist that you're working with. Like you want them to succeed as much as you can, and like you want to push them and you want to make them like, you know, their potential, and you want to push them to their full potential. And I think it's been really great working with them for that. And when we decided to do the compilation, they put me in charge of like choosing the music, and they asked me if I could put the song on it. I was like, you want electronic music on this thing? Just to make sure, because this is electronic music. It's not metal, it's not rock, it's like weird dark wave neoclassical music. And they were like, yeah, you can do that, and like add other artists that you really like. So I ended up like asking Ernox, I ended up asking Sarah from Torn Between Two Worlds if she wanted to put a single on it. And like I ended up like talking to a lot of people that was probably too shy to talk before, but I was like, I have this project that I'm doing with C Squared, do you want to be in on the compilation too? And like a lot of people, well, everybody said yes, and it was really cool. Like it makes you be less shy too, like you have like to go and just push through like your shyness and ask people stuff that you normally would not do before.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's been a big help to me just sitting on this end of the camera and chatting to artists like yourself the last 4 years. It's definitely helped with my anxiety and overcome my shyness, and to be able to have these conversations, especially through 2020 and 2021, has definitely been a real positive aspect of what I'm doing, and I'm sure with the artists I've talked to as well.
Yeah, I feel like everybody had to learn new skills. Like you have like I think it's been cool because I've seen a lot of people like bloom from the pandemic, and I know it's been like very hard for a lot of people, but I'm so happy to see a lot of my friends getting out of their comfort zone because they want to they want to learn new skills. For once they have enough time to learn new skills, because we're always on the run with like work, music, kids, blah blah. And I think it's so cool to see people being less into their head and like going like more out there and like trying new things. And I think it's been great for me so far.
Yeah, and this album comes out September 17th to C Squared. That would have been fun putting it together. I do want to quickly go through the artists. You have got the Inferno doll, you've got Litharo. I'm having a chat with the Inferno doll as well. I just done an interview with Litharo. Sarah from Torn Between Two Worlds, amazing voice as well. You got Disconnected Souls, Lycanthro, Book of Worms, Hernox, Invar with Sam, you got Synesthesia, you got yourself with Lindsay Schoolcraft, you got Chalk Portraits, Space Goat, Art of Departure, Duncan Evans. It's an absolute ripper of an album, and it's a good showcase of the artists that you have there as well.
Yeah, and I feel like we did a good job with picking the artists too, because no songs are similar to the other ones. Like they're all super different, and I think it's such a cool compilation for that, because I come from metal, like, so in my head, like, metal was like, it's metal, but releasing my electronic music made me realize that a lot of like metalhead, like, they love other genres too, and they're very open to other genre, and like doing that compilation and adding like different genre that I would not think would fit. It was such a fun process. When I did the track list, I was really thinking about it as being an album, not just a compilation. Like, what would I want in an album? Like, you want to start this way and like end up this way and have like this thing there. And it was really, really fun. And I think that people are really going to enjoy it. I know I enjoy it.
Yeah, and I bet you that all the artists were really keen to be able to do this as well and get their music out a little bit further to some more ears, because you're in the PR side of things. It is really hard to get the bands out there, because there's so many great rock, metal, electronic, neoclassical, so many great different genres of metal and bands. It is kind of a little hard sometimes to get it out there, but
Yeah, it's everybody that I've talked to, they were like super excited to get into a campaign. And some of the artists, it's their first time being like having like a PR campaign, and I felt it was such a shame to not have them before. Like, you have such an incredible music, and like people need to hear it, and I feel like the compilation is a good way to put those people out there and like have people access to all of those genre, because again, metalheads are very open to genre, and I feel like this is a very good way to discover genre that they don't even know exists.
Yeah, where's the best place people can head along and to buy it when it drops, or to support the bands? I'll put all the links in with the article for all the bands that I mentioned as well, not only yours but all the bands that are on the compo. But where's the best place people can get along if they want to buy this, support it?
So the compilation is on pre-order right now. It's on Bandcamp. I think it's the C² Music Bandcamp, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
If I am, I hope you're going to put the right link.
I'll put the right link in as
awesome.
well. That's right.
Awesome. So you can pre-order the album there. It comes with 1 song. I think it even comes with 3 songs, to be honest. There's the song that I did with Lindsay, but also I think there's Book of Worms and Shock Portraits. I think they're like you get like two or three singles with the pre-order. I should have known that. But yeah, so people can go and like pre-order it there.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Book of Worms, the different genres and the way you have done this has been unreal, because Book of Worms, they're a great doom metal band as well. It's cool that Jitches have really gone to a lot of effort to mix this up and different genres and a different feel all the way through it.
Yeah, and like for me, like it was my first time like listening to their music. That was like my first track that I listened to them, and it's such a cool band that I was so happy they said yes, because we weren't sure if they were going to be willing to be on the compilation. And like their song is amazing, and I had a good chat with Jay from Book of War. Like we did a podcast with him a few weeks ago, and it was really cool to talk about dragons and stuff.
Yeah, that must be cool. All the podcast stuff and the work that not only Curtis, but Corinne, yourself, and Holly, and the whole team over there. It's turned me onto a lot of bands, and in turn, I've been able to turn these other fans onto these bands as well. So it must be really good for you to be able to have that feeling and encouraging feeling where you're able to spread these bands all over the world and give them a proper publicity campaign as well and get their music to more ears.
It's amazing. Like when they asked me if I wanted to join the PR, I was so excited, because I feel like a lot of musicians have amazing music, and like people need to have access to them, and it's great to do PR for that. Like you can actually take those amazing artists and like those amazing song and album and like show them to people that will actually take the time to listen, like yourself. Like you receive like the campaigns and stuff, and like you can hear it and like you can discover new music, and it's been great. And like I'm very grateful that they took me on their team, and like it's been amazing.
Yeah, and there's so many artists out there, and when I hear that term, rock is dead, metal is dead, it's like you're just not looking, because there's so many great artists, not only like yourself, but on this compilation, and just there's so many artists artists and musicians out there in the world that are just doing amazingly great things. When I hear that term rock and metal or it's dead, it really bugs me a lot. No, it definitely is not true. How is the music scene over there in Canada? Are you still in lockdown? How do you see us coming out of this? How do you see the scene recovering after what we've had? Because I was just listening to the news, and they were listening to an article on the ABC News talking about how entertainment industry was forgotten here in Australia and kind of looked over. And I'm sure it was the same with a lot of the governments all over the world that kind of neglected artists, bands, and the whole entertainment industry through this thing. How do you see us coming out of this?
Well, I have my first show on Saturday, like after a year and a half without playing. I'm super excited. So I'm gonna see like more firsthand how people react. But I honestly think that people were kind of overlooking the scene before the everything happened with the pandemic. I think a lot of people were just like so used to there's this show, well, I don't want to go anymore, blah blah, because there've been so many shows. And now that they got like they got ripped from like the music for like a year and a half, I think people are so excited to go back to shows and like to really appreciate what they had. And I think it's the same thing with any other industry. Like I used to like go sometimes to restaurant and like I didn't really care about it that much, but the moment that we got like robbed from it, and that when we got access to go back to restaurant, I went a lot of times just because like it was something that I really really missed, and being able like to hang out with people. So I think shows are going to be the same thing here. We're just going to be excited to go back to on stage and like to see the people that we missed for so long. And I've talked to Tim from Death on Fire, and over there, like he's in the state. He said that they played a bunch of shows and there were more people now than there were before the pandemic. So I really think that's the way people are just reacting. They're appreciating the scene more now.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. Over here in Australia, we've had shows that have been selling out really quick. I'm in Adelaide, and Adelaide tends to buy tickets the last minute or the last week or whatever. But now, since we've had shows coming back, they've been selling out quick. We had one here that sold out in 24 hours, like a Froth and Fury Fest. But we've got restrictions and caps on shows as well, and that changes. How is your show on Saturday? Is it full capacity, or do you have to have some restrictions in there? Or
well, we're kind of lucky because they're doing it outside.
Okay, cool.
So you can have
better,
you can have a little bit more people. I think it's 250. And it's there's like, I think they're going to be seated. I'm not sure. Like I saw some pictures, but there's new information coming like every week about the restrictions. So like I don't know exactly what's going to happen. But here, like the situation has been really good. Like not everybody, but most people are getting like both vaccines. So things are opening more and more and more, and we're not having a lot of variants so far. So that's hopefully it stays like that. But yeah, it's 250 if I'm not mistaken, and people are going to be sitting, and it's going to be like they have like some space in between. I think it's like 1 meter now, but it's outside, so hopefully like it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, you'd be really excited to get back on stage again and playing to some people, and having that connection with fans is something you just can't get, you know what I mean? And the scene, the way the scene is when people are streaming a lot, so when you're playing shows, you're able to have that connection with fans, and then they're able to buy some merch and some shirts and go back home and go check out Gaia, she was unreal, and you know what I mean, that connection that you just don't get otherwise.
I feel like getting nice messages is very cool, and like I appreciate everybody that messaged me, but when I meet them, it's something else. It's like you can really put a face on the name of the person, and then like I'm a hugger, so I hug a lot of people. I'm just like I hope I can hug people on Saturday because I missed it a lot. But it's different, and I miss the fans. I just miss people in general. I'm pretty sure that's the case for every artist and everybody in general. Like they just miss seeing people, and like I hope we won't be too awkward because it's been a while since we've met people.
Yeah, well, you should give that gig a shout out as well, just in case anyone over there wants to head along to it as well.
Yeah, so it's called Rockfest pour la santé mentale. So it's actually a show that we're playing. We don't take a pay. It's just for they're gathering money for mental health.
Cool.
So it's for a
great
bunch of
cause.
foundation. So yeah, and it's something that I really believe in. And like when they asked us, we were supposed to do the show like last year, I think, or the year prior, and like before everything happened. But they asked us if we wanted to do the show, and like it was such an important cause for me that I pushed up and I was like, we need to do that show. Like we need to help people in need, and we need to do it. And like they were all super excited to do it too. And when it got canceled, we were really sad. But now it's back on track, and we're playing on Saturday. I'm trying to think of the other bands. The Taro is playing, but the day before, they're playing with Vodvoid, and we're playing with the other band is called the Damn Truth. I've never seen them live, but I've heard they're really, really good. So I'm like super excited. I think they're like more like a rock band from what I understood.
Cool.
But we're playing the rock show, but we're like very heavy metal. So like I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's a great cause, and it's really good that these conversations around mental health are coming up a lot more. I've had a lot of them, and I've noticed the last couple of years people are engaging in these conversations and bringing it up and going, it's okay to not be okay, and if you're not feeling okay, find someone to talk to, seek some help, you know, because you're not alone.
Yes, and I feel like the past year, a lot of people have been more open about their mental struggle, and we lost a lot of people. I was lucky that I didn't, but I've seen a lot of my friends, they lost friends because of the mental health issues. Like, no, you're not seeing people, you feel alone. And having foundation like that, like it's good to have the talk and like to break the taboo that it's fine that you're not feeling well, like we're here, like you're not alone, you have friends, you have family, you have people that really care about you. And I'm very happy that we're doing that show, and I'm very happy that people are like more open to have that conversation, because it's a hard conversation to have.
It is.
Talking about depression, talking about suicide or anything, like it's a very hard conversation to have. But I'm glad that now we're seeing that it's something that needs to be done. We need to be more open about mental health and try to like find ways to help people that need help, and
sweeping
make it more accessible.
Exactly. Sweeping it under the carpet like we've done for how many years prior isn't helping, and it isn't changing anything. Gaia, this has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Everyone go check out Anatomy of Fear, come out 2019. The C Squared Underground Music Special drops 17th of September. You can head over to Bandcamp, chuck in some pre-orders. I'm going to put in links for all the artists because they're absolutely unreal. Gaia, thank you very much for having a chat with me. Do you have any last words, shout outs, or thank yous you'd like to add in before we sign out?
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me. It's been really cool to talk about everything that we talk. I don't talk a lot, but I appreciate it. It was I appreciate you like getting up early for that too. Like I know it's a weird time zone, but I appreciate it.
No, absolute pleasure. You have a lovely day, and thank you very much for making some time to have a chat with Crank and that metal station. Cheers, mate.